Welcome back to Revolution Pregame Live. I'm Elizabeth Pehota here with my co-host Jeff Lemieux, and we are at Gillette Stadium as the Revs are back in action, hosting last year's Supporters Shield leaders, the New York Red Bulls. We have an exciting show here for you guys tonight. We're going to talk Revs, how New York's been faring this season, MLS's Greener Goals Initiative, and what everybody's been waiting for, the lineups. But first, Jeff, I have to call you out. Last week you said if it wasn't 70 degrees, you weren't going to show up, you weren't going to do the show, so I prepared to do the show all by myself. You're here. You're a bit of a liar.
Well, being a liar is the last thing on earth that I want to be.
Yeah.
And I do remember saying that, actually, so... Hey, so you can do it by yourself?
I'm good. I'm prepared.
All right.
I'm all set.
Well, I'll get unmiked. I'll probably go back out this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good luck with the show.
Thank you. It was nice
working
with you.
Fun. Yeah, it's been fun. And best of luck with your career, I guess.
I mean, you're never going to see me again? Is that's how this is going?
I don't know what's going to happen once I walk out the door.
We can still be friends after you walk out the door, but I think I'll give you a second shot. You know, just don't make bold statements like that anymore. You don't want to disappoint our viewers like that. I mean, what would they have done if you weren't on the show?
I have no idea. They probably would have tuned in and watched it, because it would have been just you, and it would have been a much better show.
I mean, that's a valid point, but you are a staple, and I think everyone is secretly happy you're here.
That's true.
I'll admit I'm secretly happy you showed up, but I was ready in case you didn't.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll take that. Yeah, I think at this point people have just kind of accepted the fact that I'm on the show, and they tune in, despite it.
They like to see me. They just tolerate
They tolerate me, for sure.
Well, I'm glad you're back despite what anybody else thinks. And we are here as the Revs are hosting the New York Red Bulls, and I'm going to get right to the point, Jeff. I think that the Revs just haven't been good enough at home so far this season. They're 1-1-5 through their first 7 games and just really haven't been able to get their home performances together. It's very atypical of New England, too. They're typically very strong in Foxborough.
Yeah, to put in context how rare this run of home games has been, the Revs had not lost a home game by multiple goals since August of 2016, prior to this year. The Revs won a stretch of 38 games in Foxborough without losing a game by multiple goals, and there were only 6 losses total in that 38-game stretch, and all 6 of those losses were by a single goal. Already through their first 4 home games this season, the Revs have lost 3 games by multiple goals. So this is not typical of how this Revolution team has played in Foxborough in recent years. And what's really bizarre is we've talked a ton the past couple of years about the Revs being so good at home and struggling so much away from home. This year, the Revs only 1 point from 3 road games, but the performances have actually been better on the road than they've been in Foxborough.
A little bit of a turn, opposite from what we've seen in years past.
But the fact is, I think in this league, we've seen teams overcome poor road form by being very good at home. You can succeed.
Compensate.
Yeah, you can succeed in this league by being a little below average on the road, but being very good at home. If you're not good at home in this league, you cannot compensate for poor home form on the road in Major League Soccer. Poor home form is not a recipe for success. The teams that make the playoffs in this league win their home games, and the Revs have to be one of those teams moving forward if they want to get themselves into the postseason places.
Yeah, so before we get to what they're going to be doing against the Red Bulls tonight, I think we do have to touch upon last weekend's loss to Atlanta, 2-0 at home. Although I think we'd prefer to not talk about it.
Yeah, it's just another sort of a dud from the Revs in terms of performance. It felt like things were on the up a little bit. The Revs came off that Cincinnati game and were feeling pretty down, but came back, got the response they needed in the home game against Minnesota, got a big 2-1 win over them, and the confidence started to grow a little bit. Granted, it was only 1 win, but the confidence started to grow.
You could just feel it between the guys, even at the training field.
Yeah, definitely a better mood. The confidence was up. The Revs went to Columbus and lost that game 1-0 in Columbus, but a better performance from the Revs in that game. Strong defensively, only conceded the 1 goal. It was on a set piece. It's likely marginally offside. So the Revs came off of that game feeling pretty good about that performance as well. And it felt like maybe they were heading in the right direction. And then the first 30 minutes of that Atlanta game, Brad Friedel talked about the Revs just being second to every second ball, just kind of didn't have the energy at the start of that game. It gave Atlanta a foothold. They took the lead and then went on from there. And the Revs unsurprisingly struggled defensively in that game because of how depleted the back line was. But it was another game where the Revs just kind of struggled to put it together in the attacking third of the field. 1 shot on target in that game. It came from Tajon Buchanan in the late stages coming off the bench. And there's a lot that the Revs are going to have to get right, but that attack with 5 goals in 7 games, it just hasn't been good enough through the first couple months of the season, and they got to figure it out.
Yeah, listen, it's still early in the season, and as we mentioned last show, they're in the middle of a 3-game homestand, the second game against the Red Bulls, all of those matches against Eastern Conference teams. So they're going to have a chance to kind of turn things around if they can get it started on the right foot tonight. They're also going to be playing 2 games in the next 5 days. You have tonight against the Red Bulls, and then Wednesday they're also going to be hosting the Montreal Impact.
Yeah, you have an opportunity with 2 games in 4 days. If you can pick up back-to-back home wins here, you start to get that confidence in the right direction, you pick up some points, and you've got yourself right back in the mix. But you've got to do it over these 2 home games in 4 days. And the Reds kind of find themselves in a spot where it feels like they need to respond. Sort of like they did coming off that Cincinnati performance, where it was a little bit of a downer performance at home. The Reds coming back next week with another opportunity at home against Minnesota, found the response that they needed. They made 6 changes ahead of that game. We're going to see a bunch of changes to the starting lineup here tonight. So we'll see if those changes elicit that response from the Reds, because they really do need a response type of performance against New York.
All right, well, let's get right down to those changes with the lineup, Jeff. We knew heading into tonight that there was likely going to be 1 change with captain Michael Mancian coming back from suspension, but there are 5 changes total, so a lot going on here. Who are we going to see on the pitch tonight?
Yeah, 2 of those changes, unsurprisingly, coming on the back line. The Revs, we mentioned, were so depleted last week on the back line. We will see Michael Mancian, the captain, come back into the starting lineup as he returns from suspension. Edgar Castillo overcomes that calf injury that has kept him out for the past 2 games. He's back into the starting lineup. The other 3 changes coming in the attack as the Revs are looking to find that little bit of a spark. So Christian Penilla, Juan Fernando Caicedo, and DeJuan Jones out of the starting lineup. Diego Fagundes, Teal Bunbury, and Juan Agudelo into the starting lineup. So it's not quite the 6 changes that we saw from that Cincinnati game to Minnesota, but we will see 5 changes from last weekend's loss to Atlanta here tonight, as Brad Friedel once again looks to find a spark. Yeah,
a lot of rotation going on, but let's start on the back line. As we mentioned, Michael Mancian coming back from suspension. He's going to be partnered with center back Jaleel Anibaba and Andrew Farrell out at right back, and Edgar Castillo, who's back in the mix after overcoming a slight calf issue, is going to be playing out at left back. They've definitely been missing him out on the pitch. It'll be great to have a natural left back out on the field.
Yeah, it gives the Revs just a little bit more of a standard look on the back line, right? Like we talked about how depleted the back line was last week, and really only ended up with 2 defenders on the field, 2 defenders in the 18.
Yeah.
You had Brandon Bye starting at left back, and yes, Brandon Bye has started at left back quite a bit for the Revolution the past couple years, but it's not his natural position, and he has admitted that. You had Luis Caicedo playing right back, and we know that's not his natural position. So the Revs were able to get what's essentially kind of a first choice back line on the field tonight with Castillo at left back. Farrell's able to shift back out to the right because he doesn't have to slide into the middle. And in addition to that, where we talked about the Revs last week only having 2 defenders and not having anyone available on the bench, Antonio De La Mea is available again this week as well. He missed the past 2 games with a knee issue, so he is available on the bench and gives the Revs an option, a little bit of depth if needed. So a little bit more stable in the back line this week, and the Revs need to be a little bit more stable in the back because Atlanta had chances last week to score more than the 2 goals that they did. The Revs really need to kind of settle things down back there.
Yeah, you mentioned Luis Caicedo, who was playing right back last week. Not his natural position. He's going to be playing up in the midfield, pushed up there to his natural position. So it'll be good to have him in the mix, somewhere where he's a little bit more comfortable, a little quicker on the ball, and just overall a little bit more confident.
Yeah, struggled a little bit at right back, Luis Caicedo, which is kind of expected. It's not his natural position. He hadn't played there for at least a couple of years. Last time he played there was when he was in Colombia. So he gets back into central midfield. He'll feel a lot more comfortable there. And I think where this helps the Revolution tonight specifically is having Luis Caicedo in front of the back 4 gives the Revolution a bit more of a chance to break the Red Bulls press. So the way the Red Bulls play, much like the Reds, is they will press high and hard, and they will press all over the field. So in terms of breaking that press, the Reds essentially have 2 options. You can play the ball long to try to play over the press if you panic a little bit and try to win second balls up top. And we talked about last week, the Reds struggled a little bit to win those second balls. So if you don't want to go long and you feel like that's not going to be your strength, you've got to play through that press. And it's got to be quick, it's got to be sharp, and you've got to find the gaps, and you've got to do it quickly. So having Caicedo in front of the back line, taking the ball off the back line and turning and trying to find those gaps, I feel like that's where his strength will come in, and that's why it's important to have him back in front of the back 4 tonight.
Yeah, that is his strength, Luis Caicedo. But taking a look at the other side of the field, up in the attack, we have 3 changes, as you mentioned. Diego Fagundes, Teal Bunbury, and Juan Agudelo, all up there as options. And there has been a lot of rotation in recent weeks because the Revs haven't been able to just find that attacking group that's clicked. What do you think this rotation is going to do for the group tonight?
Yeah, unsurprising to see changes up top because, as we mentioned, the Revs have only scored 5 goals through 7 games.
They need to create more chances.
So they're looking to find that chemistry up top, and to be able to bring 3 guys in, Diego Fagundes, and Teal Bunbury and Juan Agudelo, all of whom are MLS veterans. They have proven throughout the years in this league that they have what it takes to score goals and create goals in this league. So these are three players who are very familiar with each other. The only concern is as we go from week to week and we see that attacking group
Just keep
change
changing.
as the Reds try to find that chemistry to get something to click, is that you don't really give, you don't have a group that's had an opportunity to really develop that chemistry. So you hope that this group can come in tonight, can put a couple of goals on the board, show that chemistry, and then they can stick with that group for a little bit so that they can kind of start to feel a little bit more comfortable going into each week, knowing who they're going to be on the field with and who they need to kind of find that chemistry with.
Well, we'll see how that rotation unfolds tonight, but also of note, if we take a look at the bench, Brian Wright is available. He's returned from USL loan to side of Birmingham. He returned earlier this week, so no surprise to see that he is an option in the 18.
Yeah, and Brian Wright is a player who Brad Friedel has referred to as the best pure finisher on this Revolution roster. Last year when Christian Nemeth was traded to Sporting Kansas City, Brad Friedel was quoted as saying, with Nemeth no longer on the roster, Brian Wright is the most natural finisher on this team. So when we talk about what the Reds have struggled with, getting into the box and having all of those attacking opportunities in the final third, all those touches in the box, and not being able to find that killer instinct inside the box and get shots on target and finish. That's the type of player Brian Wright is. Brian Wright is a bit of a natural finisher. When he does get on the ball in the box, he's unafraid to shoot, and he does have a strength of actually getting those shots on target. So 1 goal, 1 assist, and 3 appearances for Birmingham for Brian Wright. He's in the 18 tonight, and I would be relatively surprised if we don't see Brian Wright on the field at some point tonight. Hopefully it's not because the Reds are searching for a goal late. Hopefully it's just to pad a lead late in the game. But expecting Brian Wright very well could see action in his return tonight.
I think you're right. Likely that we will say Brian Wright on the field. But Jeff, let's take a look at the opposition. Who are we going to see out there starting for the New York Red Bulls?
Yeah, the New York Red Bulls, quite a few familiar faces. You start along the back, Luis Robles, the goalkeeper who's been such a rock for this New York Red Bulls team for a long time. In front of him, perhaps the best center back pairing in Major League Soccer with Aaron Long and Tim Parker. Daniel Royer, a fantastic creator for this team, can also get on the end of the ball in the box and score goals. But when you're looking at this Red Bulls team, especially from a Revolution perspective, the name that I've got to focus on is the guy up top, Bradley Wright Phillips, who has been absolutely lethal since arriving in Major League Soccer in 2013. I know at 34 years old, there's been a little bit of talk about maybe Bradley Wright Phillips is losing a step a little bit. Had 20 goals last season. He was the fastest player in MLS history to reach 100 goals, did it in just 158 appearances.
I think that statement's a little forward, a little bold.
I mean, he's only got 1 goal this season, so maybe he hasn't been quite as sharp, but he has been absolutely lethal against the New England Revolution in recent years. There's no question about that. Goals in his last 6 appearances against New England in all competitions. Several of those goals have been with his head as well. And Brad Friedel mentioned this week that the Red Bulls lead the league in getting crosses into the box. And when they're getting those crosses into the box, most of the time, the guy they're looking for is Bradley Wright Phillips. So the Revs have 2 focuses there, trying to prevent that service from getting into the box whenever they can. But when that service does get into the box, you have to be touch tight on Bradley Wright Phillips. If you give him half a yard of space, he is going to kill you. He's done it before.
He's going to capitalize.
He will do it if the Revs leave him space tonight. I don't care if he's 34 years old.
No.
He's still a heck of a finisher. So the Revs are going to be paying very close attention, I am sure, to Bradley Wright Phillips tonight.
Yeah, some big names overall on the roster for the Red Bulls, but one name that I couldn't help but notice that's not there is Kaku. He was suspended last weekend when the New York Red Bulls drew Kansas City at Children's Mercy Park 2-2. He got a red card. He was a little bit aggressive. His ball hit one of the fans, so no surprise that he's unavailable tonight.
Yeah, this is a tough one because I really don't think that there's any intent from Kaku to hit that ball into the stands. It's a moment of frustration. I think he's trying to hit that ball into the signboards. And if he succeeds and simply smashes that ball into the signboards, maybe he's given a yellow and nobody's talking about this beyond the final whistle. Unfortunately, that ball clears the signboards, it hits a fan in the stands, and the fact is that in that moment, Kaku is responsible for where that ball goes once he hits it in anger. So there's a little bit of precedent for this in the league. We've seen it happen before. The Reds had a player, Mauricio Castro, about 10 years ago now, suspended for a couple of games for something similar. Although Ike Opara had a similar incident in New England a few years ago, and it was never really talked about. He was never suspended for that match. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what they do with Kaku. It's been such a talking point that I have to imagine he's going to get more than one game.
I think so as well.
But what we know is, at the very least, the one game is tonight. And that does rob the Red Bulls of one of their primary chance creators. So the Red Bulls are going to have to find someone else to kind of play that role, and Daniel Royer is a guy who can kind of step up in that spot.
Yeah, hopefully the Reds will be able to take advantage of the fact that Kaku is unavailable tonight. But even when you look back at the Red Bulls' performance against Kansas City, drawing 2-2 really wasn't a result for the Red Bulls that was bad. I mean, Kansas City's been pretty hot so far this season. And the Red Bulls, yes, they led the Supporters' Shield last year, but they've only gone 1, 2, and 3 so far this year. So you know that they're going to be a little hungry coming into tonight's game.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty similar scenario that Atlanta United found themselves in coming into Foxborough last week. Atlanta, a team that rolled to MLS Cup last year, and then came into this season, started 0-2-2 before coming into Foxborough, and players were not used to being in that type of position, so they were pretty hungry coming in, maybe playing a little bit desperate. I think the Red Bulls are in a similar spot. Team, as you mentioned, 71 points last year, set the record for most points in a single season. Their third Supporter Shield in the last 6 years. So for the Red Bulls to come out with a largely similar group of players and start 1, 2, and 3, these are not guys who are used to struggling like this to start a season. So they're going to be playing a little bit desperate. There's no question coming in here to Foxborough. It's up to the Reds to match that desperation and make sure that the Red Bulls aren't able to do what Atlanta did last week, which was come here and turn things around a little bit.
Not to mention there's a little something extra with this matchup. The Revs and the Red Bulls, they have quite the storied history here. They've both been in the league since the first season in 1996, and they've played many games, as you could say, and there's even recent history like the Revs' 2014 Eastern Conference Championship victory, that puts a little bit of an extra fuel in both sides' steps tonight.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years since that playoff matchup, so I think those without the playoff matches each year, it dwindles a little bit, but it's definitely still there.
Oh, yeah.
You get that Boston-New York rivalry. I know it's not quite the same right now with the Revs and Red Bulls, but when you have that playoff history that these teams do, when you have the regional history that these teams do, it lights a little bit of a spark. And for me, I know we talked about it on the pregame show last year, that 2014 Eastern Conference Championship, going down to Red Bull Arena and winning there, one of my favorite memories with this team. But unfortunately, that's the only time the Reds have ever won at Red Bull Arena, because the Red Bulls have dominated the series in New Jersey. Similarly, the Reds have dominated this series in Foxborough. Home field advantage has been absolutely critical throughout the entirety of this series history.
Crazy.
The Reds are only 8-21-8 down in New Jersey, but they're 22-6-7 here in Foxborough, plus 2-0-2 in the playoffs. So the Reds have been very, very good at home against the Red Bulls. This has been a bit of a house of horrors for New York. I know that's history. Teams are different now, but something about this rivalry and this matchup, home field advantage has been used. The Reds have to make sure that they take advantage of it tonight. Yes,
looking for the Reds to take advantage of that, and it's a big time for them to do so. They're going to be playing 2 games in the next 4 days, hosting the Montreal Impact, as we mentioned, on Wednesday. And when you broaden that scope a little bit and look over the course of the next week, they're actually going to be playing 3 games in the next 8 days, as a week from today they head on the road to play Sporting Kansas City, another side that's been very hot. And then looking even further out, that game against Kansas City starts a stretch of 3 road games in a row. So it's important that the Revs capitalize on this as soon as possible to get maximum points.
Yeah, all told, starting today, 8 games in the next 29 days
for
the Revs. 7 of those are league contests. You also have the final whistle on hate charity match against Chelsea on May 15th here at Gillette Stadium mixed in there as well.
Hope to see you guys out at that one.
But with 7 league games, that's 21 points on offer for the Revolution in the next 29 days. And that can go one of 2 ways.
Yes.
The Revs are going to have an opportunity within the next month to get this turned around and rack up some points and get themselves right back in the mix in the Eastern Conference. But if you don't take advantage of this next month and you come out of it with not a ton of points, all of a sudden you're approaching the midway point of the season.
Yeah.
And once you get to that point in the season, it's a little late to kind of start catching up.
Yeah.
So this is an absolutely vital month for the Reds. They have an opportunity to get themselves right back up in the mix in the East. they got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and that all starts tonight against the Red Bulls. But it's also worth mentioning that it's MLS's Greener Goals Initiative Week, and the Revs have been busy giving back to the local community for the past couple days. Diego Fagundes and Antonio Delamea visited the New England Aquarium and their turtle sanctuary on Monday. They were able to help nurse some of the marine life back to health, turtles specifically, and then visited the aquarium as well. And some of the players and front office staff, myself and Jeff included, went out to one of Boston's local beaches in Quincy and picked up plastic and trash off of one of the coastal lines to prevent it from going out to the ocean. And, you know, it was great to be able to give back, but it was also a lot of hard work, wouldn't you say?
It was a lot of hard work. I mean, I'm, you know, kind of a really big, burly, strong man, so it's easy.
Okay.
It's easy work for me. But you know, I guess there were some people. No, I'm not. You're stronger than I am. That's for sure. But it was fantastic to be able to get out, because you look at the Greener Goals Week of Service, and when you have the Parley Initiative every year and you focus on the oceans, it's special for our club specifically, because we are one of the few teams within Major League Soccer who are based in a coastal community.
Yeah, New England.
We had the opportunity to get out. It didn't take long just to get in the car and drive a little bit, and all of a sudden you're at the beach, and we had the opportunity to go down
Quick trip.
and clean up Squaw Rock in Quincy, and it's pretty eye-opening. You know, you take a look from 100 yards away or so, and it looks like a normal beach.
Yeah,
it doesn't
looks
look
totally
like
fine.
You know, it looks like it's pretty clean, but then you get down there, and in a couple of hours we picked up more than 500 pounds of trash. And it was all different types of trash, so it was an eye-opening experience.
It's all buried in there too. You know, you got to dig for it. There were ropes people were pulling out, and you know, just got to search for all that. But we were able to collect a lot.
Yeah, and if we hadn't collected it, it ends up in the ocean, and that's where you end up with the issues. So, just a great initiative, great for all the teams in the league to be able to get out and help this week, and particularly for New England to be a coastal community. It's just really kind of a cool initiative.
Well, and the Revs and the Red Bulls are both sporting their MLS Parley jerseys tonight, which are made from plastic that's been pulled out from the coastline before it's able to reach the ocean. So it's recycled from Parley yarn. The plastic's made into that yarn that is then turned into the jerseys. So they're actually teal. They're pretty cool. You guys should try to get one of those at the pro shop. I know they're limited quantity right now, but they're also going to be auctioning off the game-worn jerseys, and all the proceeds are going to benefit the New England Aquarium.
Yeah, last year the Parley jersey that the Revs wore was kind of a slate gray, a little bit of a charcoal. And I will say, we end up getting a lot of Revs gear as Revs employees, so I don't buy a ton of Revs gear. But that Parley jersey last year that the Revs wore in Columbus was one of the pieces of Revs gear that I went out and said, I gotta have this, and went out and bought it. I'm gonna make sure if the quantities are still available, I'll get over to the pro shop and get one of these new ones, which you mentioned are a little bit, kind of like this a little bit.
A little bit. We might have worn this outfit on purpose, right?
Relatively close, yeah.
Come on, the matching game here is pretty strong. I don't think anybody can argue that one.
I don't think so. that is for sure. But you had mentioned as well the jerseys. If you're not able to get one of the jerseys in the pro shop, the jerseys online have sold out. There are still limited quantities, limited sizes available in the pro shop. If you're not able to get one of those, at halftime tonight, the auction will go live.
Yeah,
the game-worn jerseys that are being played on the field tonight, you'll be able to get on and put in bids for those, and all of the benefits will go to the New England Aquarium, who the Revs partnered with throughout the Greener Goals Week of Service. So, fantastic opportunity to grab yourself one of the jerseys. It'll be game worn and support a good cause.
Yeah, get one of the unique jerseys, and also just supporting, like you said, a great cause, the New England Aquarium. And lucky for you guys, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me and Jeff. We're going to be bringing you guys the pregame show again on Wednesday at 6:45 when the Revs are hosting the Montreal Impact. And then after that, a week from today, we're going to be taking the pregame show on the road for the first time this year, doing it out in Kansas City. So really exciting week. You guys are going to get a ton of me and Jeff coming up.
Now, if it's not 70 degrees for those games, am I allowed to do the show, or do we have to hope that it's 70 degrees, and if it's not, then you do the show solo?
You know, I think that we're going to be able to do it with both of us. I'm giving you a full-on second chance.
Okay.
So just don't make any bold statements like that and scare the viewers, okay?
Fair enough.
Scare the viewers or me.
Are looking forward to getting out and bringing the show on the road to Kansas City, though.
Yeah, we love bringing the show on the road for you guys, being able to bring you the latest from there, because we know, obviously, those far games you guys can't travel to. So exciting to bring it out there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And as we mentioned, the Revs are going to be playing the Montreal Impact on Wednesday, so make sure you guys tune in then. Also of note, it's season member appreciation night tonight, so thank you to all the loyal supporters that always come and cheer us on. You guys, we love having you as season members and appreciate having you at all of our events. Love seeing with you guys and interacting with you, so please keep up the great work. And I think for now, that's about it for Revolution Pregame Live. Thanks for watching, guys.
centers it. Bounces. Now for Fagundes. Scores! Padilla. Gets a step. Cross. It's 2-1.